You know that feeling, right?
Hmm.
Where a decision just sort of clicks almost instantly.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe picking the fastest checkout line, and it actually is the fastest for once.
Huh. If only.
Or knowing which job applicant feels right. Today, we're really diving into those super quick judgments.
Exactly. We're looking at Malcolm Gladwell's Blink and really trying to pull apart this whole world of snap decisions and intuition, too.
Right.
We want to figure out how these rapid judgments actually work. And importantly, when should we trust them? Can we even get better at it?
And what's great about Blink is how it draws from all these different areas, psychology, sociology,
Yeah, behavioral economics is in there, too.
and uses these really great real-world stories to explain things. Think of this deep dive as, well, your quick guide to the science behind your gut feelings.
Without needing the PhD.
Exactly. We're pulling out the key stuff, the ideas that might
Yeah.
actually, change how you think about, well, thinking.
Okay, so let's jump right in. That first impression, those first couple of seconds, we hear it all the time, don't we? Trust your instincts.
Go with your gut.
Or when you know, you know. It
Ugh.
really makes you think about how much intuition plays a part in just everyday life.
Oh, absolutely. Like, think about walking down a dark street late at night. You suddenly feel uneasy, maybe cross the road. You don't consciously list out all the potential threats, do you?
No, you just react instantly.
You just react. And Blink argues a lot of that comes from what Gladwell calls the adaptive unconscious.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that a bit.
So basically, it's like our brain is constantly learning from everything around us, from all our experiences.
Right, subconsciously.
Yeah, totally subconsciously. And this allows us to make these surprisingly fast calls, even in situations we haven't been in before or ones that are familiar. We're always soaking up data,
We're like a sponge, but without even realizing we're doing it.
Exactly. And our brain uses all that stored up stuff to help us navigate the world quickly.
And what's really fascinating is just how continuous this is, this almost invisible learning process. We're constantly adapting,
Right.
constantly gathering data without sitting down and studying it. And this feeds into our intuition, that feeling that guides those quick choices.
And a key part of how we do that is something called thin slicing.
Ah, yes, thin slicing. It sounds a bit like making sandwiches, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But it's actually about our brain's amazing ability to filter out noise and find the important bits really, really quickly.
So making a judgment based on like a very small amount of information, a thin slice of information.
Precisely. Imagine walking into someone's house for the very first time.
Mm-hmm.
You almost instantly get a feeling and impression of the person who lives there, right?
Oh, totally. Their books, the tidiness, the style.
Exactly. That's thin slicing. You're taking this tiny snapshot, a thin slice of their environment, and your brain is making all sorts of unconscious connections and judgments.
Right. Based on that limited visual data, maybe sounds, smells, your brain just generalizes. And it mostly happens without us consciously directing it.
Yeah.
The big advantage here is, well, it's efficient, super efficient. Thin slicing lets us make calls without getting totally swamped by information.
Which frees up our conscious brain to, think about other things.
Exactly, to do the slower, more deliberate thinking when needed.
But okay, that efficiency sounds great, but there've got to be downsides, right, to judging so quickly.
Absolutely, that's a crucial point.
I mean, our own biases, prejudices, stereotypes,
Yeah.
they must get tangled up in those fast judgments sometimes.
Definitely. They absolutely can. Our subjectivity is baked into the process. And Gladwell also talks about priming.
Crime.
Yeah, how like subtle things in our environment, things we don't even notice consciously, can nudge our behavior one way or another.
Wow. Okay. So it's powerful but potentially flawed,
Yeah.
which brings up the big question, doesn't it?
When do we actually trust these gut feelings, these unconscious thoughts?
Yeah, because society, or at least, conventional wisdom, usually tells us to be slow and careful.
Right. Sleep on it. Think it over. Make a pro-con list.
We're kind of trained to be suspicious of quick decisions, aren't we?
We are. There's this built-in bias towards methodical, deliberate analysis.
But Blink kind of pushes back on that,
Mm-hmm.
suggesting that actually some of our very best decisions might be the really fast ones.
It does. It argues that rapid cognition has its own kind of intelligence. If
Mm.
you think about thin slicing again,
Yeah.
you can see it as a really quick, effective way to gather information. It's not random guessing. It's about recognizing patterns.
Patterns based on all that subconscious learning we talked about.
Exactly. Based on knowledge and experience we've absorbed. It helps us cut through the clutter, avoid that feeling of information overload.
Okay, so thin slicing has this kind of hidden logic to it. It's fast, but it's based on something real.
Right. But then there are gut feelings, which feel a bit different, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Like sometimes you just have a strong feeling about something or someone, but you absolutely cannot explain why. There's no clear reason.
That's the key difference. Thin slicing often has an underlying, if unconscious, rationale based on observation. Gut feelings, they can feel more mysterious, almost out of nowhere.
So what does Gladwell say about those? Just ignore them because we can't explain them.
Actually, no, he suggests we should kind of respect the mystery, acknowledge that sometimes we just know something intuitively without knowing how we know it.
Just accept that feeling.
Accept it as part of the picture, yeah. Don't dismiss it just because you can't write down a logical proof for it.
Okay, so we have this capacity for quick judgments.
Yeah.
Some explainable, some less so. Can we actually get better at it? Can we train our intuition?
Yeah, this is maybe the most empowering part of the book.
Because normally we're told, don't be impulsive.
Consider the options.
Right.
But Gladwell argues, yes, we can take control and improve our snap judgments.
It seems so. Automatic.
It's not just about raw talent. It's about developing our intuition through a mix of things. Experience, definitely, but also training and building knowledge.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
Yeah.
What can we actually do?
Well, one key thing is learning to figure out what information is actually essential for a quick decision.
Like zeroing in on the critical details.
Exactly, and being kind of frugal with information sometimes. Gladwell suggests that too much information can actually be confusing. It can cloud the picture for snap judgments.
Information overload, basically. It
Yeah.
drowns out the important signals.
Precisely. You get lost in the weeds. So learning to identify and focus on the few things that really matter is a skill.
That makes a lot of sense. Less is sometimes more.
It can be. And another part is accepting, like we said with gut feelings, that you can't always control or understand everything perfectly.
Right, accepting the mystery sometimes.
Yeah. Those gut feelings are a valid part of intuition, even if they're hard to pin down.
And presumably getting better also means facing up to our own biases.
Oh, absolutely critical. We have to understand that our own perspective, our subjectivity, our biases, they shape these judgments.
So awareness is key.
Awareness is the first step. And then actively seeking out new experiences, different situations, different people.
Why? Has that helped?
Because it broadens your knowledge base, your internal library of patterns. It exposes you to other ways of seeing things, which can help balance out your own inherent biases.
So it's not just about thinking about bias, but actively doing things to counteract it.
Yes, experience is crucial. And, practice.
Practicing snap judgment. How?
Well, maybe consciously trying to make quick assessments in different low-stakes situations and then seeing how they turn out, reflecting on it. It's also about interacting more, maybe, experiencing different environments, really paying attention, observing people, listening closely, not just hearing words, but noticing behavior.
Context matters hugely.
Hugely. Gladwell really emphasizes that. Context is critical for both our fast unconscious thinking and our slower conscious thinking.
And that includes, like you said, getting outside our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Talking to people who are different, going places that are unfamiliar.
Definitely. Learning from people and places that aren't just mirrors of our own world. That diversity of input really seems to sharpen intuition.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up a bit. Key takeaways.
Well, first, these snap judgments, this thin slicing, it's actually a really powerful and efficient way our brains work.
Right. Super fast pattern recognition.
Yeah.
But second point, it's not foolproof.
Not at all. Our biases and prejudices can definitely lead us astray. So we need to be aware of that.
And then there are those mysterious gut feelings. Sometimes we just know things, and maybe that's okay.
Yeah, respect the mystery. And finally, the really hopeful bit. We can actually get better at this.
We can train our intuition through experience, knowledge, and actively working on understanding our biases and seeking out new perspectives.
Exactly. It's not just fixed. It's a skill we can develop.
And for you listening, someone who wants to be well-informed, understanding this stuff,
Yeah.
it's pretty useful, right?
Absolutely. It gives you a better handle on your own thinking. When can you trust that first flash of insight? When should you maybe pause and think a bit more deliberately?
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. After exploring all this, how are you going to approach your next quick decision?
Yeah, will you trust that blink moment a little more readily now?
Or perhaps
Yeah.
be a little more cautious, knowing the potential pitfalls.
It's worth thinking about. When has your intuition been spot on, and when has it maybe led you down the wrong path? Something to reflect on.